Hey everybody, this is Boris Schlossberg. Welcome to Trading Battle number 20. I got a very special treat for you today because we're going to do stocks and nothing but stocks. We have a last minute substitution today because Flash unfortunately couldn't make it with us. So we're going to have a rematch. Michael Cogshill and Simon Massey are going to trade against each other. Last time Michael beat Simon, and so I think Simon is really ready for revenge. Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Say hello to us and let the battle begin. Hey, Simon, how are you?
I'm good, Boris. How are you? Nice to be here. With plenty
Good.
of.
How's that wonderful fake ocean behind you? It's beckoning
Oh, it's
me to go to
beautiful.
the
That's
beach.
Cleethorpes Beach.
All right.
I can move myself nearer to you if you like.
Oh,
It
there we
depends,
go.
really.
That feels a little more like home. There we go. All right, sounds good.
I've got a few more screens for later on as well.
You got it. And let's see where Michael is at. Let's see how he's doing. Let's see if he's going to come. Hey,
Hi
Michael.
guys, yeah, hi.
How are you?
Nice to be with you. I've been a bit rushed. I didn't even get time to shave, but
that's okay.
That's I think that's fine.
You got
and
that
not a
Don
lot of
Johnson
notice,
cool
but
look.
I'm absolutely as cool as could be. Now, last time Simon and I were up against each other, he won on the day, and I smashed him over the course of the session. So he really wants to get back at me, and
He
I'm
wants to
not
get
sure if
back
he
at
can.
you.
Yeah,
I
we'll have
don't
to
think
wait and
so.
see.
You seem like a wily veteran of the market, so you seem to know what you're doing. So both of you guys, today's theme of the session is stocks, which is obviously I think of great interest to a lot of people. We're coming into the last 2 hours of the U.S. session, and I'm just wondering, generally how you guys trade stocks. Is this something you do every single day? Do you trade indices primarily? Do you trade individual stocks? Let's start with Simon. What do you like to do on a day-to-day basis in your trading?
Yeah, I love the US markets. I tend to revolve around the US. I'm a big fan of trading the overall indices. I like the Nasdaq, the Dow, and the S&P, and those three certainly take up most of my time really just trading those. If I trade any individual stock or equity, then it generally has to be in line with the trend of the overall market. That's sort of my base philosophy, if you like.
Okay. Do you trade stocks purely on a technical basis, or do you follow some stories and you'll trade news events as well?
I would generally just look at a technical basis. The most important thing I'll do is just make sure if I'm going to trade a stock is I'm not trading it, a day before a huge earnings announcement or something like that.
Right.
So it's because of the time frames I trade. It's mainly technical over fundamental.
Right. So effectively, you try to avoid fundamentals. The only reason you look at news is to avoid it, rather than to
essentially.
rather than to use it as a catalyst. How about you, Michael? How do you trade stocks?
I tend to trade stocks a lot more in my pension portfolio than in a intraday way. We do sometimes trade stocks intraday, but the stocks are slightly more solid, and we'll just keep moving in general directions. And they're the ones you want to have in your long-term holdings. And I know you're going to talk about Moderna today, and Moderna I think has been a fantastic share this last year, and picking them up on the day that the announcement of them getting vaccine approval for me was probably in my pension stock my best trade of the year. Went up from there about 300%, and so I'm really not surprised to see that that's probably my best trade ever in that way. And I'm not really surprised now that that's dropping off and it isn't at those highs anymore. But yeah.
So it sounds like you do look at fundamentals, but primarily for your longer term pension portfolio. In other words, you will invest into stocks based upon news and fundamentals, but on a day-to-day trading, you can primarily rely on charts, right?
Yes, correct. Often in our live trading in our intraday sessions, I'm usually trading the European session in the morning, where I'll trade the DAX as an index as my primary market, and then Simon in the afternoon will often trade the Nasdaq and the Dow and the S&P for the afternoon markets. And then I'm always looking at stocks to put into my overall portfolio. And there's a couple I think that are still gonna move in the right way long term.
What do you like long term? Like if I said to you, give me 3 stocks that you'll happy to hold for the next 5 years. What would you?
NVIDIA.
NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got a real shortage in chips and
Correct.
in things like that at this moment. I can't see that changing for a long time.
Right.
I think that's got to be good to hold. Microsoft right at the top at this moment, but don't be afraid to buy and keep holding. They'll just keep stringing along there. And then so they'd be pretty high on my list. I'd really probably would avoid some of the medical pharmaceutical stocks for a while and let things cool off a little bit on that before going in there. So picking a third, I'd probably want to get into a different area and probably get into one of the commodity possibly materials over the next 5 years will grow. Inflation's going up, and that's going to continue. It's not transitionary. Transitionary is a nonsense.
One commodity that seems almost a slam dunk for actually two commodities that seem almost slam dunk to me: copper. So there's actually a copper ETF because copper is crucial to electric vehicles. It's something like there's 50 to 100 times more copper in a Tesla than there is in an ICE engine. And I mean, the other one is oh God, now I forget the name of the material, the stuff that goes into the nuclear reactors, because and I know it's a controversial area in Europe, but basically, if you're going to move to green energy,
I agree entirely. I'm holding some Rolls-Royce shares on the basis of their mini nuclear reactor stuff that they have.
There's literally no way to have a climate controlled future if you don't have nuclear power to generate clean energy. So both of those things are interesting. So I'm going to jump in. We got to jump right in. And Simon, I'm going to put you on the hot spot. Start me up with a trade. What do you like right now? Looking into the market, your best opening trade of the day.
I mean, the NASDAQ, I've been wanting to get long on it all day. I mean, if we look at the NASDAQ from the post-coronavirus recovery, it's insane, isn't it? And it's like, well, it feels heavy, it feels toppy. I mean, the valuations are crazy, but the market just keeps going up. And, there's that saying, isn't it? The market will stay solvent. The market will stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. So I'm just going to take a long here on the NASDAQ, which I've done based on the fact we've got a sort of triangle wedge here. I've actually taken it off the bounce of this 20 moving average here. So I'm anticipating going into the close. My pen's not working for some reason, but I'm anticipating going into the close. We're going to see this triangle wedge extend to the upside. If we can take this high up here at 365, then I'm going to be a happy man. So I'm long that. I've just got long at market.
Got it. So this is a 5-minute chart. We just came off the highs of the day. Bounce back, and you're ready to you're basically trading the bounce because you're betting on continuation for the rest of the day. I
think sometimes the one of the most helpful things you can do is I teach this to the traders who I work with, is to say, would I like to go short at the moment? Sort of try and reverse your thinking, if you like, and say, would I like to go short on the NASDAQ? And the answer is absolutely not. It doesn't necessarily mean you go long, but I think that sort of reverse thinking can really help you make a clear decision. So I'm long on the NASDAQ at the moment.
That's it. It's very interesting, the psychology like that, because I am like one of those. I have one of those perverse mindsets where, like, if everybody's scared to go short, that's the one I really love to step into. I'm like, yes, I want to go short right now because everybody else is afraid to. I like to step into the lava pit. How about you, Michael? What are you looking at? You can do anything you like. You can do stocks. You can do indices.
Earlier on this afternoon, Simon was asking me about the sort of things to trade in this session, and I said, well, take NASDAQ long, and that's what he's done. So he
stole your idea.
That is an absolute lie.
The best trading strategy is to steal somebody else's. That's the key to success.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay. So this is meant to be about stocks, isn't it? So I'm just going to go long on the NASDAQ on NVIDIA.
Well,
I want to hold it for a while, but I'm sure that over the next these trades are going to get held through until Tuesday, aren't they?
Is this right? Am I looking
at?
Is it Nvidia is massive? It's up 14% today.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Holy cow! Wow, that's insane. Is that? I guess it must be post earnings. So I mean, there's so much to like. You're right. I mean, it's a chip heavyweight. I think a lot of people don't quite understand. Or some people may know it, but some people may not know that Nvidia is the foundational chip behind Bitcoin, behind crypto mining, because it's optimized for a lot of people buy the Nvidia chips to do crypto mining. So if you sort of are bullish on crypto, which is obviously an asset class that our broker ACAP is just completely committed to, with 250 new cryptos coming in on their platform, then you got to like Nvidia. This is, like, as you said, a foundational stock. So everybody trading strength today. Everybody just buying strength. Nvidia 304, up $38 on the day. So clearly took out the 300 handle. Once, if it holds that, usually the news generally means that it's going to go higher if it can hold above the round number. So that's very, very nice. So is that generally, Simon, is your strategy basically to buy strength? And I know you said to me you don't like to buy, you don't like to chase. But do you buy strength on retraces? Is that your modus operandi?
I do like pullbacks, and I mean I look at my trades on the indices, and it's probably about a sort of maybe a 75-25 ratio of longs to shorts. And when you look at indices, they go up more than they go down. But generally I either like to buy strength on sort of a wedge breakout like this, or I like to look for a pullback to previous. In indices, you'll often see resistance becoming support. For example, you'll see that switch and that transition happen many times.
Maybe you could show us on the chart, sort of like your bread and butter pattern that you like to look at.
Yeah, I mean, today, just with this triangle wedge, this is something that's interested me. Like I said, I'm just trying to get my pen working. A second, one more.
I see. We see the triangle. We actually saw that triangle. Yeah, well, there's your pen.
Yeah, the triangle's there, but if I just use my pen as well, I'll be able to describe it. So here, obviously, seeing a distinct high been set. We've come off that, and then we're wedging number two. But every time, what's the market telling us every time here? It's telling us that the people who are trying to sell the market down are running out of strength every single time.
Right, they can't get it down. The bottom dips.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so essentially, you're probably looking for essentially a ping. Doesn't mean it'll work, but every time the sellers are trying to bring it down, they're not able to. So it's a very classic pattern that I do like on a very technical pattern. And if we can take this high here at this is the cash market, not the futures, 16,365, then I think we might be up and away. But I managed to get a good entry. It's one of those trades that's always been in profit, but we'll see how it gets on.
Yeah, it's holding tight. So now, and let me ask you, like, if this thing goes through the high, are you the type of a trader that would add to the position, or you would actually take some off and just let the rest of it kind of run?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think on my time frame, on the way I trade, I would generally be looking to scale out, because it's just a case of, I guess, figuring out how many of your losing trades actually go into a bit of profit and working from there. So we're big fans, Michael and I, of teaching scaling out to try and sort of have that balance between not regretting a trade going back against you, but at the same time not feeling like you're missing out if it carries on going off once you've closed it. So we're very big on scaling out when it comes to trading.
It's funny. I've had so many conversations about this, because when you talk to academics, they'll tell you that scaling out is always mathematically inferior strategy. If you look at sample size and so on and so forth, it's always pays to hold on to the position, because mathematically you're going to get a bigger payoff. And what I keep trying to explain to people who don't trade for a living is that trading is not logical, it's psychological. And if you do not reward yourself just even a little bit with some profit, you'll never be able to capture any of it, because you are just going to torture yourself with all sorts of regret. It's not scaling out is not the optimal strategy mathematically, but it's absolutely the optimal strategy psychologically.
Yeah, I'd rather take a less volatile equity curve over overall greater profit, which, as you say, like in the objective rational mind. But we're not. If you're neurotypical, to use a fancy word, you've got normal emotions, then you need to take those into consideration.
We're not robots. What's this word?
Neurotypical was the. I learned that from a very important friend of mine who's got a psychology degree.
Okay. I've only gone to heteronormative, so neurotypical is new for me. As my children always, as my children call me with disdain, that they tell me that I'm a heteronormative male, so that they say that with disdain. So I take it as a matter of pride. Michael, how about you? What's your sort of typical strategy to come out? Do you also like scaling out, and do you also like to buy on a retrace, or are you're gonna buy momentum breakouts? What do you prefer to do?
I do tend to take breakouts on intraday trades. I'm quite happy to look at the first half hour of a market and trade out of the range that's set in that first half hour. I find that's often a pretty decent way to trade, and can give some quite good results.
Could I trouble you to share your screen, and maybe we can take a look at Nasdaq, because Nasdaq clearly had a breakout. I'm wondering if maybe you could run us through your how you would have traded this morning's breakout, just to see what it looks like.
Yeah, sure. So I think I'm sharing screen at the moment. Just needs to be. Yeah.
Almost
okay,
coming up.
fine.
There we go.
So
there we go.
Nasdaq.
NDX 100.
Yeah, up there. I've got it there. Okay, so if I look at, I put this on a time frame. We'll just go with 15-minute time frame. Now the market opened. So this is time on this chart. That's my problem. Where did the market open?
I think it's, if you look at it, it's pretty flat there. You can pretty much imagine that the flat line is pretty much where the market is. And we started to break out right there. This is probably around 10 o'clock New York, where I remember we started breaking out.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the server time on this is different from the
But yeah, that's the US Open there, where it started getting really volatile.
Here we are. Let me put a marker on here, and this first 15-minute candle there, trading out of that candle upwards was certainly a trade I would have taken with a stop probably underneath here,
underneath it,
looking for a first take profit around about here. But as you can see, it's gone all the way up here, and so I would have traded this, where I would have taken basically a 1-to-1 risk for 75% of it here, leaving 25% running, which would still be up here now, and that would then be ticking up. This would now be a 1.5 to 1.5, and if this market keeps going up over the next week or so, that 25% of the trade still running with a break-even stop.
That's so interesting. Wow.
Could end up being a 1 to 2, a 1 to 4, a 1 to 5. Just because I'm just going to always leave.
It's basically, how do you turn a 1-to-1 trade into a 1 to 2, 1 to 3 trade with just 25% of your capital? That's very, very interesting. So
Michael, in a low risk basis by bringing the stop up in the right way.
One quick question on that chart before you kind of went. Do you go, so when you take that 15-minute candle, so it goes above, do you just buy? Do you do a buy stop on the break of the high, or do you let that 15-minute candle finish, the second one, and then once the candle finishes, you enter on it? How do you go?
Both. I'll often put an order. I'll be watching the price action in a lower time frame. Actually, I'll be watching it on a 5-minute time frame building, and I might be anticipating where that high would be, and I might put an order in above for it to go. But if it just goes, I'll just I won't chase it. If it's gone up, quite a lot of points, I won't chase after it. I'll just go okay. It will come back, and I'll put an order, a limit order, where I would have liked to have had the breakout. And if it just keeps going and I don't get on it, I'll just say, okay, doesn't matter. I'll go get a cup of coffee, come back, and go look for the next setup.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Okay.
We also on the Nasdaq, we had the opportunity of a half-hour setup here as well today, which would have been these two candles. And what's interesting about that is that came back to that point there, and so this is a reload point for that.
I see. Interesting.
So that would have been the half hour, and that's the range of that breakout there. Go with it, come back, pull back, off again, reload.
So that's you have a limit, right? You have a limit bid right there. See if you can catch it, and then just do a reload. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is very, very interesting.
Pretty typical price action, that coming back to that half-hour breakout, give or take. I draw lines messily, very deliberately. I don't want traders to think that price is an exact thing. We talk about areas rather than exact price. I know there's an exact price up there, but this is the area. And prices come back to an area across the markets, and so scribbling on a chart is much better than putting an exact line and making people think that it's got to come to exactly that price.
So it's a zone. It's a zone.
It's a zone.
You're perfectly comfortable with zone. So if it is a zone, right? If you're like, okay, somewhere around this zone, I want to be a buyer. Are you a scale down buyer where you lay down like 2 or 3? Let's say you want to do 100,000, you do maybe 30,000, 30,000, 30,000.
I don't. I am going to quickly put on a trade though. Whilst we're talking here, we've just had the Nasdaq open there, and we're seeing those same highs being matched on the S&P and on the Dow and on all the index markets. I'm looking at the Nikkei here, and I haven't got as much. I need to get another trade on against Simon, so I'm going to put in a long on the Nikkei, which I'm going to hold through. And that is because that's down on the same time frame. Whereas the US markets are right up, and so when Japan comes back in tonight, I think they're going to look to match the US markets.
You're looking for a gap opening in Nikkei. Very smart, very smart. You're looking to trade intraday ranges. Okay, you know what? Let's take a summary of where we stand right now on the dashboard. If I can get the producers to maybe show us the dashboard here. So Simon's trade really working very well on the NAS, doing a good job there. Is this Michael's trades? You have Nvidia and you have Nikkei, and you took Facebook as well?
I think they're on from earlier when they were being tested. I think those ones are correct.
So we can't trade. So basically, we just have Nvidia and the Nikkei as our trades. So Nikkei obviously very quiet, but Michael, it's going to be interesting to see after the trading battle is over, if his gap up, if his sort of Nikkei aligning with the rest of the U.S. market going to work as a trade. So it's an interesting little trick that he's using. Yeah. So I think now is a good time for us to kind of shift gears. It's been a massively positive day here for NASDAQ, but we need to look at the short side of the world, and we need to see, what do you think will be an interesting short, either going into the close or maybe going into the rest of the week. Tomorrow, of course, we have the non-farm payrolls. Yesterday we had the FOMC. FOMC was the reason, by the way, of course, the reason we're up so much is because Chairman Powell was very, very, very dovish yesterday. He basically said, listen, we don't care. Inflation is not a problem. We're not going to rush it. The spigot stays open. Yes, we're going to taper, but the market really didn't hear anything threatening from him. And it's the reason, by the way, why NASDAQ is going up, because NASDAQ loves free money. And as long as the Fed stays relatively accommodative, money stays free, price earnings ratios on NASDAQ skyrocket, and that's what makes the whole game so profitable. So that's why NASDAQ is really outperforming the Dow today, because of very, very loose monetary policy. But given those backgrounds, there are negative stories. The biggest negative story of the day is Moderna, as we talked about. Moderna, obviously the darling of the pandemic run, an amazing stock. And I think, as Michael was saying, I kind of agree with him wholeheartedly. On a long-term basis, the technology Moderna has the potential to literally cure cancer without any hyperbole. You can say that, it's assuming they can make further progress, because they are trying to crack the code of genetic engineering in a way that's never been done before. And if they come close, the stock will be multiples of what it is today, and its possibility. But in the meantime, on the very, very near-term basis, they missed their numbers, and stocks taking a lot of profits going on. The big question going forward today is looking at the charts and just looking at the stock. Just curious. Let's just Simon, without you making a trade on it, I'm just curious. What would you looking at the charts on Moderna? What do you think? Do you think there's more downside to go, or kind of
could you
just
just give me
sold
the
out?
EPI? Could you just give me the EPIC for Moderna? I just need to find them a second.
Moderna is oh god, I got to look up mRNA. mRNA. Sorry, I forgot the symbol. mRNA.
That's no problem. 2 seconds. Let me just have a quick. It's about as thorough as my analysis gets. I mean, it's taken this significant low for me from a purely technical point of view, drawing up support and resistance as quick as I usually would. I always like to draw support and resistance. That for me is probably quite a red flag. If we get a close below that 280, now this level's gone from the 7th of October, then we could see some further downside. I mean, what I would like to do on a retracement is I would like to pull a Fibonacci, but there's not really anywhere to put the base from, and it's all just sidewards until obviously it's got really big. So I'm not sure where I'd pull a fib level from, to be honest.
I see.
So that would be a place where I'd look at the sort of 50% or 61.8. But I mean, I think a potential entry, if you are still bullish on this stock, is if it breaks back below. I mean, we could end up seeing a short squeeze down here potentially. So if this market starts putting pressure back upon that 293 level, then I can potentially see a break back into range and then just pin your stop wherever this low is. I wouldn't try and catch the bottom at the moment. What I would look to probably see is a break back above that 293 if I was going to buy.
Got it. Interesting. What do you think, Michael? What do you think of Moderna?
I absolutely agree. I think that this may well be an opportunity with the drop down to actually buy back in. The outlook for them is very, very good. I mean, I trimmed off in my pension account because it did so well. I had to trim some profit off. So I've still got some sat there, and I'm going to leave that in Moderna for another year, 2, 3, see what happens with it. Yeah.
Interesting. So what do you think? What's your going into the close here? Dow is massively negative relative to NAS. It's 137 basis points up on NAS, 39 basis points on the Dow. Do you want to do something on the indices? Do you want to do something on the stocks? What catches your eye? Netflix also getting hammered today, down $20, 2.9% on a day. Clearly a little bit of profit taking. Also, PayPal, my buddy PayPal, down 1.74%, $4 on a day. What looks good to you as a potential short as our challenge number 2?
Sorry, is it Michael first? Beg your pardon. Or was it me?
Sorry,
no,
yeah,
you go
first. I'm giving it to Michael first. I'm putting Michael on the spot.
Go on, Michael. You go on the spot.
I've just thrown Netflix up there. I mean, to look at for myself, and we can see how that's dropped off. I mean, the Squid Game is the big earner for Netflix, and that helped bring this rise up in here. The Squid Game being the biggest thing that they've ever had, and if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's worthwhile.
I don't have a stomach for it. I mean, everybody in my family has seen it, but I can't watch. I have a hard time with those kind of Hunger Game type of shows. But go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, the back to work thing, is Netflix going to really hold on to this? Yeah. From a technical point of view, I could see them certainly coming down here in the next couple of days.
Looking like a double top. What time frame is this? What are we on?
1 hour time frame here.
It's an hour
double
chart.
top up there.
Doesn't look like a double top on it.
Yeah. So 50% of a Fibonacci along here is going to be about there, and so it hasn't reached that yet. So I think it could get down a bit. So if you want me to short something, I'm just going to go with it. Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay. Short Netflix. All right. Simon.
There's a couple at the moment that are taking a bit of a kicking. There's Peloton, which I guess is having a bit of an issue. I mean, I guess after the pandemic and some of it.
Peloton is a very, very, very touchy stock in Bergen County and New York City. My wife and everybody else is on the Peloton, so you can't short that. It's very politically incorrect. But go ahead.
Even if they make those dreadful adverts, really.
Yes.
So Peloton's one. It's obviously had this head and shoulders pattern here, which is now sort of exhausted. So I wonder if we're going to break this shoulder down here at 80.48. So, but equally, do I really want to sell into resistance? So that's one I'm thinking of. I'm going to make a decision very quickly. The second one is Roku, which I believe is an American streaming service, isn't it? that's been around for quite some time.
That's an ugly. Again, what candle is this? Is it a daily candle?
These are dailies, yeah.
Wow, is that an ugly candle? Holy cow.
It is. So I think my preference is probably this one, to be fair. Just a short at market, possibly have the stop up here at 353. Yeah. This 272 needs to go. That's obviously a major support level. But if that goes, I think there could be some serious downside.
Wow.
So I think
let's just look at that Roku chart for just 1 second on the daily.
Sorry, yeah, no problem.
Because let's explain to the viewers why both you and I kind of think it's such an ugly chart. It's such an ugly candle because this is a massive doji. It's basically what happened is this candlestick is showing you we opened up at the high, ran up, and then really just flushed it all the way down to the lows and closing on the lows. It's showing you that the sellers have been relentless in this stock, and against a very strong tape. So it's not even like, a weak stock in a strong tape. If there's any kind of profit taking tomorrow, it's just going to get pounded even more. And like you said, it could push it right through that key support level at 272.
Yeah. So I think for me, taking at market short on this is the way to play. So let me just make sure.
That's Roku.
Yeah. So I think I've just pressed buy. What an absolute amateur mistake that was.
Press buy. Oh, you pressed the wrong button. It's okay. You did that. I was going to don't press the buy. Press the sell. Okay.
Wow. The professional trading there, guys.
Double up. Come on.
Double up. Actually, no, it looks quite bullish now. No, the quick tip: if you ever make that mistake, just close the trade straight away.
Close the trade, exactly. Exactly. That's absolutely. It's such a good point, man. I can't tell you. Even to this day, I still find myself making that mistake very badly. There are two mistakes you always make in trading. You hit the buy button instead of the sell button. You hit the sell button instead of the buy button. That's just mistake number one. And your first impulse should be get out. The other mistake you make, which is a little more nuanced, but can be 10 times more deadly, is you do 10 times the size you meant. Let's say your size is supposed to be 10,000. You come in 100,000. And you're like, oh, maybe it's going to work for me. And now the trade is going to be big. I don't think there's more money that's been lost in those two cases than in every other case combined. Like I call those the stupidity trades, and the stupidity trades are probably the greatest contributor to trader losses than anything else.
Yeah.
So I've been
many times. Freeze, don't you? You're getting too big and you freeze and hope it goes in your favor, and invariably doesn't. Yeah, we've all been there.
Where like the pip value, like it's supposed to be going in tens, and then it's like going in thousands or hundreds, and you're like, oh my god, I can't take the 1,000 loss. You need to take the 1,000 loss. You need to. You
do. It's punishment. It's stupidity tax.
It's exactly stupidity tax. Correct.
Which I just paid there.
Yeah. So let's just kind of recap a little bit where we stand. We're long NASDAQ with Simon. We're short Roku. We are long NVIDIA, short Netflix with Michael. And are you guys taking the same size, or maybe you're taking a little bit of a small size? And Michael is also long the Nikkei. There's two NVIDIA. Did you add to the NVIDIA, Michael?
Yes. One was too small.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
What about the Netflix? What about the Netflix position? Should that be added too, or is it the same? Are you comfortable with that size?
It not really. It needs to be a bigger size.
Come on.
It's not.
Go Michael, go home.
The system wasn't taking it.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
I'm famous for bullying our traders into making trades. They're not really that comfortable with forcing them to hold size. Come on.
Should I add my Netflix then? Is it?
Exactly. So tomorrow's non-farm payrolls. Obviously, a very big day, a big event for the markets. How are you guys feeling about that? Do you guys have any particular strategies you trade the indices with? Is this something you sort of step around on? What do you guys? I'll throw it to Michael first. What's your basic monthly routine on non-farm payrolls?
Make a cup of coffee when non-farm payroll is announced.
I see.
Once you've made that cup of coffee and you've given it 5 minutes, that might give you a high or low and some understanding of the market, say you might be able to go for. I quite like looking at some of the Forex markets, especially the the dollar related markets. So Euro USD, CAD
Pound.
USD,
Right.
Pound USD. And if I'm seeing a reasonably big candle on going positive or going negative in that 5 minutes, I might think about a 50% retracement on that candle and then go with it. So I would
So
look
can you?
for.
Sorry, could you explain that a little bit more?
Okay,
So you
I
have.
can draw it if you'd like.
Yes, yes. I always like
So
drawings.
so
You know.
so so share screen. Click me to share screen. Right. So basically, when we get a big candle, we can. So we have a let's say a reasonable size candle
Right.
is
Like a big breakout candle right there.
comes into the market.
Right.
It's been going along, hasn't been doing a lot. Non-farm payroll comes through here. This is the
Right.
time it comes in there. That's
Right.
an arrow, and this is
Right.
non-farm payroll, and it shoots up. And this we're just looking on 5 minutes here. End of the 5 minutes there. I might stick an order to go long here, halfway down that candle with a stop below. So
And
if it pulls
stop
back,
underneath the low.
stop below here, and
Got it.
put an order there for it to go long again, for it to pull back.
Right. Do you know,
And I would do the same on the opposite. If the candle was
right.
down here, it had given that this
Right.
non-farm payroll comes in, off
Right.
it goes. I'll
So
set the order 50%
right.
down with the stop above for that
So
to continue.
you know we're going to call this setup. We're going to call this the half calf decaf.
Yeah,
Since you made
I
a
like
cup
that.
of coffee, we're going to go to 50% half. As our half calf, half decaf, and then the stop underneath. It's a stupid little joke out of a Steve Martin movie back from, like, you and I are probably the only ones old enough to appreciate that movie. But that's gonna be forever known as your 50%. It's gonna be the half calf decaf
Yeah,
setup.
it makes
And
sense.
we'll
Yeah.
be trading that. We'll be trading that tomorrow for non-farm payrolls. How about you, Simon? What's your basic approach to non-farm payrolls, and how do you handle it?
A slightly boring one. Also, I generally avoid it. It's not something I'm massively interested in. I mean, I do think you can see, if you get an atypical candle, a really large candle, I think
Right.
there are opportunities to fade it if it's running into a big support and resistance level. And I also
Right.
think you could generally use Fibonacci levels quite well on it as well to see if it wants to pull back to the 50 or 61.8% and then get on board with it, really. But directly trading over it, it's not something I'm massively interested in, to be perfectly honest. I mean, my view is, I mean, I always say this to people, is I'm interested in trading price action how it is most of the time, not how it is on a rare occasion. And you could say price action is always different, but you know what I'm talking about when you not when things are as unusually volatile. That's generally when I step out, because I'm interested in being in the long game and trading price action how it is for the majority of time.
So effectively, that's interesting. You don't like to trade event risk because you actually like to avoid unusual volatility. You want to trade a relatively calm market because then you have better control of the price action. Is that what you're saying to me?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think there are opportunities, but I think if you think back to when you've made a lot of your amateur mistakes and what they're linked to, it's generally like the fear of missing out and like, oh, I need to get on this move and things like that.
Right.
And it's also psychologically more intense. If you get in like a non-farm payroll trade, for example, and it goes against you and hits your stop within 5 seconds or something, then I think psychologically that can tilt you and lead to a lot of disasters in that respect. I mean, not necessarily me, because
Right.
I've been punched that many times. I finally learned to to avoid the punches. But I think if you're trying to teach and talk to new traders, you'd say to them, look, you want to be trading the market as it is most of the time, not just how it is atypically.
This is such an interesting point, and I really want to just delve into it a little bit more. Which is, you're absolutely right. Almost everybody who's new wants to trade excitement. They want the volatility. They want the event. They want the big rock and roll show, which is literally the single worst time. It's basically the time when people are most likely to lose money, when the professionals are going to just pull the rug from underneath you without any regret and your ability to do this. And you're absolutely right. There is no greater time to put yourself into tilt, which is a term from poker of how you lose psychological control over your actions, than at these points of stress. In fact, There's lots of stories about professional traders who've gotten carried out on a stretcher during big market dislocations, precisely because it's in those moments of stress that they've broken every one of their rules and have lost most of their capital because they're so engaged. The market action is just overwhelming. So it's super
I
interesting
think it
that
ties into,
your
I think
recommendation.
it also ties into what you said earlier. You essentially were talking about shorting when no one else will. I think, is it Buffett who may have said it? It probably isn't. Probably a famous trader.
Yeah.
The old when everyone's fearful, be brave. When everyone's sort of greedy, be fearful. If you like, I think it ties into that, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So when everyone's been brave and trying to trade it, I'd be quite happy to be fearful. If you like, you just got to try and figure out what are the 10% of winners are doing.
We had that moment about a month after the big coronavirus crash. That moment to be brave came in, didn't it? And look at the Nasdaq now. Look at everything from there. I mean, the growth from that was just phenomenal. Being brave at that time when everybody was selling.
It was so hard because everybody, there's like almost nobody could have foreseen the V-shaped move that we've had in the equity markets. Was historic, was literally historic. I don't think we've never seen a move like that. And so it's very, very hard, but you're right. That was the right time to step in and do it. Look at that NVIDIA move. Guys, look at it. It's the Momo market. NVIDIA up, NASDAQ up. You guys are rocking and rolling on those Momo trades. So they're doing very well. Now's a good time, actually. I want to ask you guys a little bit about the charities you guys are trading for and maybe a little bit about, anything, what you guys do in your service. So, Simon, you were telling me a little bit off camera. I'd love to hear a little bit more. What is the charity you're trading for? And I see the chickens behind you because that's related to the charity that you're trading for. So tell us a little bit about Nest of Joy.
It is, yes. I've got a very close friend of mine who's the director of a charity in Uganda that helps out a very valuable course of children who've had very rough upbringings. And this tries to bring them housing, education, give them place of safety in countries that are obviously got some quite serious, deep-rooted issues, and they do some wonderful work over there. And unfortunately, at the moment, and it was the chickens that are very important to them have unfortunately caught a disease and passed away. So that's the reason I've got chickens in the background. I'm literally trading for chickens today. I'm told it's about $5 for a chicken that can lay some healthy eggs. So hopefully the Nasdaq's going to carry on and buy us some chickens. That's
exactly the point. That in those frontier economy countries. A chicken is an incredibly it's a renewable resource in a sense that it provides protein for the family on a continuous basis, and that's incredibly valuable. And that is why it's sort of almost a form of currency, especially in the more rural areas of those countries. So that's why it's so valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to generate some profit, and I think end up getting some chickens. So
sounds good. Well, it sounds like a very, very noble cause. How about you, Michael? What are you trading for today?
The Spinal Injuries Association. Spinal injuries affect hundreds of thousands of people across the world every year. Spinal injuries tend to be quite severe for people, and the statistics of how people get on with their lives after a spinal injury is quite poor. Most don't go on to get a job. Most don't end up really living the type of life that they would have led beforehand. Mainly they would have had an accident in a car, on a motorbike, or other things that most of the time not their own fault or at any blame. But government isn't very good at looking after and helping people deal with the problems that they face afterwards. And the Spinal Injury Association is very important.
Can I ask you how you came across this particular subject matter? Is there anybody that was close to you, or did you how did this come on your radar as a
let's say it's close to my family? Yeah,
it's close to your family. Yeah. I know. It's a very, very noble cause, and I can totally understand. It's something we take for granted every day, and we're all just. I was just thinking the other day how grateful we are for being able just to walk around. There's so many people who don't have that luxury, especially in the age of COVID. So it's great. You guys both have great charity causes. You guys are actually very tight. I think the numbers are. One of the great things about this battle today is that it's a tight battle. It's not like lopsided one way or the other, and we certainly have more to come because these positions we can hold all the way till the close of market on Monday, which is going to be the final mark of where we're going to be, and everybody who's watching the trading battle is going to get updated as to who the winner is. For now, I think Simon is leading ahead, but the Nvidia trade is really taken off for Michael. So
Nvidia's going nuts, isn't it?
It's great. I mean, remember I said to you, I said,
it's
hey,
really doing well.
Look at that, it's 12.
Driving the
It was
NASDAQ
04. It was for, look at that monster. Look at that. I said it cleared the 300 and it definitely, definitely taken off. Now, NASDAQ also trading pretty well here. 145 to the day. We started around 135 when we started the day. What else is going on here on, and Moderna is just a little bit off the lows. And I mean, everything is really working well. So final challenge of the day is basically what is the best trade to go into the weekend and into effectively Monday. And remember that, of course, you guys are trading blind right now in front of the non-farm payrolls, which are expected to actually be relatively good. I think it should be a more or less non-event at this point. We had Ron Klain, who is the White House chief of staff. Sorry, I forgot the term. Chief of staff of President Biden. He tweeted today that since Biden took office, weekly unemployment rolls have been reduced by 75%. So that's, I think, very impressive. Clearly, the job engine in the U.S. is working very well. It's being offset by higher prices, so the economy is certainly in a push-pull environment. But I think it's going to be interesting to see if the job numbers continue to be strong. It should be relatively positive for equities. So what are you guys thinking of doing as your final trade of the hour into the weekend and into Monday? Who wants to go first? This is dealer's choice. You guys.
I can go on that one. Yeah, okay. I fancy a long on the Dow here. I think Dow's been quite suppressed today, and I think it's going to bounce back. I mean, it's usually it looks like there's rotation from the Dow into the Nasdaq, which isn't uncommon. I would like to buy down at 35,900 if I'm honest, because I was talking about. I'm not going to, because obviously it's not going to get down there in the time we have, so I'm going to buy up here. But where's my pen? I spoke about that support becoming resistance earlier, didn't I? And this is exactly what I'm talking about here. There we go. There's my pen. Where the market goes up, finds resistance, that resistance turns into support. Classic index pattern that you can, or the balance point that's been created there. I'd prefer to buy down there, but I'm going to be a bit braver, and I'm going to buy from here. So I'm going to click the buy button instead of the sell. That's going to be a good start. US 30 buy. And we're going to get long on the Dow. We may see a week Dow into close, but I think over the weekend we'll go. And I think it may be a slightly natural hedge on the short term to the Nasdaq. So that is going to be my final trade for the week. Short on that stock, long on the Nasdaq, long on the Dow.
Interesting. So you're looking for that spread to narrow effectively.
Yeah, I think so. The Dow. I mean, if the Nasdaq and S&P are flying into new highs, I don't think it'll be long before the Nasdaq catches up. And I think if we have a day where the Nasdaq might be a little bit more subdued, I think the Dow will take over. So hopefully we'll just see a continuation of the trend before we have to close on Monday.
So there's a funny article in the Wall Street Journal today about there was a book that was published in 1999 called Dow 36,000, in which the authors bravely claimed the Dow, 1999, the Dow was going to hit 36,000. And of course, the article was tongue in cheek because they were right, but they were 22 years late to their call. But it's just a point that the net story of the article was the key thing in Wall Street is to either forecast the date or forecast the price, but never to forecast both. That way, you're going to be safe as far as your forecast goes. So
absolutely, yeah. I think people love expertise.
Yes.
One of the issues on Wall Street at the moment is there's an awful lot of people calling a top continually, and they'll be doing it every week, every month, every other month, because each one of them knows that if they do call the top, they'll be made famous for calling the top, and so they'll keep calling it. And now we've been looking at some of the sentiment on what traders are doing here recently, and we know that so many traders are short in the index markets because people keep calling the top. And where are index markets today? They're flying through the roof. And if you've been short, you have lost an awful lot of money. So stop listening to those people who are just trying to make their name. You need to be trading. That's what it's about. And if it goes up, you go up with it.
Right. Awesome. So you are powering ahead on that beautiful NVIDIA call. what do you want to do as your final trade of the day to take into the weekend and into Monday close? What do you say, Michael?
I'm going to look at Amazon for you. This is about
that's
stocks
interesting.
today.
Okay.
Now, Amazon, as we can see here, this is a daily time frame chart here, double bottom down here, and has just come out of it. Is just today poking out of this range here. I think that it could easily come up to these highs over the next couple of days, and then carry on up. Amazon's got a lot in the bag. There's so much about Amazon now. It is definitely one of those stocks that I would be holding for the next 5 years as well. So
they came out with very, very good earnings, beat the numbers. They are at this point a juggernaut. I think I order from Amazon literally every day. Somebody in my family, there's a package in every place that we live in the world now, because I'm still living partly in the suburbs, partly in the city. There's a package going to one of the places that we have almost every day. So they certainly are a machine, and a very well-oiled machine. What I love about Amazon is they execute really, really well. There are a lot of technology companies like Facebook that you can take a huge amount of umbrage with, but you can't be dissatisfied with Amazon. They just do a great job. So that's interesting. So we're going to take Amazon into the close. That'll be interesting to see how that works out. Michael, pulling ahead. I mean, Simon really, really, really wants to win this time. So we will stay we'll stay patient with our trades, because obviously everybody is going to hold on to their positions. So there's a couple of interesting things I kind of want to just sum up. First of all, great momentum trades. The key things that you can take away from here is, on a strong day, stay with strength. Nasdaq's been up all day. Simon didn't do anything fancy. The simplest trade is the best trade. Let's go trade Nasdaq. He's making tons of money. Secondly, he follows that up with the Dow 30 lagging. So let me see if that spread is going to close. And you can see the Dow 30 is starting to catch up as well. And especially if you I know he doesn't trade news, but if you're just even mildly positive non-farm payrolls, that means Main Street America is doing well. If Main Street America does well, Dow 30 is going to do well, and that's going to catch up on his trade. On Michael's side, what I think was fascinating is obviously momentum really, really pays off. He likes NVIDIA. That stock broke the very, very important 300 handle, which is a round number, but it's a triple round number. It's a century mark, decimal mark, So for all those reasons, once it broke 300 and stayed, it now is trading, 312, right? Michael went in at 304. So don't be afraid to buy strength, especially if it holds above key numbers. And that was a great trade, and it's actually really put him on board as far as his positions. Then his other interesting position, which we'll see tonight in the Asia session, is the catch-up trade. The catch-up trade here is the Nikkei 225. The idea being that a very, very strong day in the U.S. should spill over into enthusiasm in Asia, and that could lift the Nikkei. Nikkei is also 400 points away from the 30,000 level, big level. Nikkei hasn't been around those levels for a while, so it could maybe boost the Japanese investors as well to the upside. So we'll be watching all those trades, see how they come in, and obviously update you guys when the battle trading is over. For now, Michael is leading, but as you know, markets can be very fickle, and it's not over until we market to the market. Any final words, guys? Let me just sort of finalize it by asking what you guys do in your trading rooms, and maybe tell us a little bit about your services. Go ahead. You guys both, I think you're both on the same thing, right? So the pitch.
Yeah, I'll leave it to Simon.
We'll do one pitch to two people. So talk to me about your service.
Yeah, I mean, Michael and I met in about 2011 and 12 when we just got interested in sort of trading and speculating, and we always found that, as I'm sure you know yourself, running a trade room, running a community makes you a better trader yourself, because you're accountable. You want to do well by people. You can't make egregious trading errors, or people tell you what to do. So that's why we've still been doing our live trade room after 8 years now, is because all the other things we've done always comes back to that trade room, because you've got to have skin in the game for that credibility, haven't you? And it keeps you honest. Absolutely. It keeps you doing it, why you do it. So yeah, I mean, the best way for adults to learn is to see something happen and then do it. And I always say to people, when you're trying to assess the trading industry, the education industry, is would you learn to drive from someone who doesn't drive themselves? And the answer is no. So you don't learn from people who can't trade themselves or don't trade. So that's the best piece of advice. And that's why we continue to do it and continue to enjoy it.
Great. Super. Anything to add, Michael, or just what he said?
Leave it to Simon. Boris, it's been very good. You've been a great host. It's been very battling along.
Enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you for being a true trooper, for stepping in at the last second. We had some technical difficulties, and you've been just absolutely great. And your equanimity and your sense of proportion has been a great moderating influence on all of us in terms of how to approach the market. I think from now on, half decaf is going to be my go-to trade after NFPs. You really taught me something special. I thank everybody. I thank you guys for watching us. As remember, this is Trading Battle number 20. We got more coming your way, and we will update you on everything that that these guys do. Keep our fingers crossed, and everybody have a wonderful time. I'll see everybody in the markets over and out. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.